It is McKinley-Massillon Saturday, 2025. Bulldogs, Tigers, or Tigers, Bulldogs, depending on what angle you approach this from. And we are happy to be joined by former Tiger and Buckeye, and doing great things now on the staff with The Ohio State University. Devin Jordan joining us here on the pregame show today. Devin, how you doing this afternoon?
Pretty good. Like it's a Monday here in Buckeye Land. Got a bye week, so 7-0, and still a lot of work to be done. But you know how it is around here. So
Well, I'll tell you what, congratulations are in order. Another fantastic weekend for the Scarlet and Gray, and let's keep that train moving. Appreciate you joining us. First of all, when I say McKinley Maslin, Maslin McKinley to Devin Jordan, what's the first sentence, the first thought, the first thing that pops into your head?
man, great rivalry. Great two great programs, great traditions, great coaches, great players, great fan bases. Obviously, I think from my standpoint, being able to play in that game multiple times and kind of get entrenched in the rivalry. I wasn't really from the area. I got to play in it, and when you're in it, you're in it. And we were. It's when I was talking to some of our players at Ohio State this past weekend. Sometimes when you're a player and you're in these big time environments and games, you really don't really realize what you're a part of until you're not a part of it anymore. When you're looking at it from another lens because you're so focused on, winning the game. And so for me, I was talking to one of our coaches who had been watching, I believe, the 2001 version of the Mass McKinley game, and there's that Fawcett. And one of my biggest games in the rivalry, and I had a really good game against a lot of great players on the other sideline. There's about 20,000 fans in the seats, and didn't really realize in the moment how big it was until you look back at it. Because again, you get the game plan, you practice, you go out and you perform, and that's just what your natural habit is. And now, 25 years later, going back and hearing from other coaches about the game that I played in and the game I had, and really the next day, Coach Tressel called me and offered me a scholarship to Ohio State, right? And it's like you're not really worried about that; you're worried about winning the game. But again, that's the magnitude of the rivalry and the focus that you need to have to be successful in a rivalry in the moment.
Devin Jordan is our guest, Maslin Tiger, Ohio State Buckeye here on the big pregame show. McKinley Maslin, it's the War of 1894, the game. A lot of superlatives you can throw at this rivalry. It is unmatched in the United States, no question about it. Devin, do you remember not only the week leading up to the game, but when you woke up that Saturday morning? If you could take us through what time that alarm clock went off, did you get much sleep the night before? Take us through game day if you could.
Yeah, so obviously, we had the pregame meal. I always got up early. I'm just an early riser, who I've always been that way. And so we had the pregame meal, and of course, you're with the teammates, and it's kind of like a quiet storm. It's kind of like not a lot being said. Everyone's kind of getting in their zone. Of course, we kind of know what's about to happen. And I think Coach Shepard did a great job preparing us throughout the week of, building us up, not putting too much on our plate. Of course, a lot of hoopla, a lot of the pep rally, all that kind of stuff, leading up to it. But I think Saturday morning, it was like a quiet storm. A lot of focus, had a lot of great players around me from the time I was a sophomore. Guys who kind of took me through rivalry. Jesse Robinson, who I'm still close with to this day, and Justin Zwick, Robert Oliver, Sean Crable, all those guys. I mean, those guys were elite players, elite performers. The list goes on and on, guys I play with, and so it wasn't just about me; it was about more than me. But I knew I had a big part in it, and so I think just kind of like having that look in your eye when you wake up Saturday morning, what's about to happen, and your boys got your back, and know what you're playing for. You're playing for the guys that you work hard with all off season, and of course playing for something bigger. That's Tiger Town. So I think going up to the stadium, you kind of just feel it. It's kind of hard to really explain that extreme focus and knowing you're going to an intense rivalry. And I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you let it consume you too much, I think that's when things don't go as well. But when you
Mm-hmm.
kind of just let it kind of just be what it is and just have extreme focus on what you're supposed to do in the game, that's when you can perform at a maximum level which I think Coach Shepard did a great job of making sure we could do that when that Saturday came.
I've been lucky. I've been blessed to do a lot of McKinley-Massillon games on radio, and having a great 50-yard line seat and being able to take everything in inside the stadium, outside the stadium. I always have said that is one of the more magical moments in the year is when both teams are coming out of the locker room simultaneously. The bands are playing, the balloons are going off. You can really feel what's going on. What was that moment like for you? All the games that you played in that rivalry, the minute you stepped out of that locker room onto the field and look up and said, "Whoa, it's time. Here we go."
Yeah, it's funny because, of course, I would say to me, I want to say my junior year, we played him at Foster, the game I told you about, but I think we played in the playoffs that same year,
Right.
and that was at the Rubber Bowl,
Yep.
and
Yep.
it was like 30,000 people. I'm like, wow, this is crazy, right? um,
Nuts.
but again, I think nothing can really prepare you for it. I think again, if you're too consumed with everything that's going outside of you, you can't focus on what you have to do. And I think that is the key thing. And I tried to do my best to not like look around, because then you kind of lose focus. If that makes sense. And I think really at the end of the day, like, as big as the rivalry is, the biggest one in high school football, in my opinion, I think, um, the fan bases are amazing. Both fans, of course, Tigers, I think, have the edge. That's just my personal opinion. But I think at the end of the day, um, I think our coach did a great job. Like, again, when I was there, just making sure we were just in the moment, to where we weren't worried about, like you were saying, everything that's around, us, the band, the fans, everything, the cheerleaders, like, I mean, the parents, like everything that was not going, that had nothing to do with, in between the lines. Right? It makes sense. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, and if you do that, everything would take care of itself.
One more, Devin, we'll let you go. Actually, 1.5. One is going to kind of maybe get a prediction on today's game between the Bulldogs and the Tigers, and then just kind of piggyback off of that a little bit. How special are these memories to you as each year goes by? The camaraderie. I know the stories get bigger and better every year. We'll kind of finish on that.
Yeah, I think for me, like I said, the older I get, the more special it becomes, to now know my kids are playing football and just, seeing them perform at a, even, little league, but I think for me, being able to tell them about the Massillon McKinley rivalry, the games I was a part of, even showing them some old clippings is pretty cool. I think for me, again, the older you get, the more you cherish the moments. And, I think for the guys playing the game this year, I think they have to do a good job of just focusing on the moment. And then when they can reflect in years past, they can say, hey, I was focused on the moment. And then I can reflect on what it looked like for me. As a prediction, of course, I'm going to play the political game. I think that, I really haven't really studied, too much of both teams. I know, I think both are having pretty decent years. I think at the end of the day, you can throw out the records. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, if you're 9-0, doesn't mean you're 1-9 or 1-8. Doesn't matter. In this game, it's all about, again, what's in between the lines and playing hard as you can for your community and your brothers that are right beside you. I think both coaches are doing a good job, and we'll have those guys ready to roll. And again, it'll be a good rivalry game, and look forward to see what the outcome's going to be. But of course, who I'm rooting for. So.
I do know who you're rooting for, my man. Well, I appreciate you coming on today, Devin. Thank you. Thank you for all the memories you provided during the McKinley-Massillon games when you played, and obviously keep doing your thing down there on the banks of the Olentangy. We appreciate you, and have a great rest of the day.
I appreciate you guys.